Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today, we take you on a journey through the life of one of Hollywood's most fascinating and influential figures. A man whose brilliance has crossed genres, whose creativity has touched comedy, acting, writing, music, and even entrepreneurship. A man who is remembered not only for his iconic roles, but also for his ability to connect with people on a deeply human level. This is the story of Daniel Edward Aykroyd, better known to the world as Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd's story begins far from the bright lights of Hollywood. Born on July 1, 1952, in Ottawa, Canada, his early life was shaped by family, tradition, and a sense of humor that came naturally. His father, Peter, was a civil engineer and policy advisor, while his mother Lorraine instilled in him creativity and warmth. But what really stood out was young Dan's unique perspective on the world. From an early age, he noticed details others overlooked. He could find humor in everyday life, and this sharp eye for observation would later become one of his strongest tools as a comedian and actor. Growing up in Canada, Dan wasn't just a kid who told jokes. He was also deeply fascinated by the strange and unexplained. Paranormal stories, mysteries, and spiritualism captured his imagination. In fact, this lifelong fascination with the supernatural would later inspire one of his greatest creations, Ghostbusters. But before Hollywood came calling, Dan was just a boy who had big dreams. He attended Carleton University in Ottawa, where he studied criminology and sociology. But it was clear that books and lectures weren't where his heart truly was. Comedy and performance were calling him louder than anything else. He joined a local improv group and quickly became known for his quick wit and uncanny ability to transform into different characters. Every performance was another step toward the destiny he didn't even fully realize yet. It wasn't long before Dan Aykroyd made his way into the world of sketch comedy, and that's where everything began to change. In the early 1970s, he was performing with the Toronto branch of the Second City, an improvisational comedy group known for shaping some of the greatest comedic talents of all time. It was here that his talents as a performer and writer really began to shine. People noticed that Dan wasn't just funny, he was smart, versatile, and able to create characters that felt real and larger than life, all at once. Then came the opportunity that would change his life forever. In 1975, NBC launched a brand new sketch comedy show called Saturday Night Live. It was risky, experimental, and unlike anything television had seen before. The show needed a cast of comedians bold enough to push the boundaries, and Dan Aykroyd was chosen as one of the original members of the Not Ready for Prime Time players. This was the moment that launched him into stardom. On SNL, Aykroyd's genius was undeniable. He became known for his versatility, his impressions, and his ability to create characters that audiences would never forget. Who could forget his portrayal of Elwood Blues alongside John Belushi as the Blues Brothers? Or his iconic impression of President Richard Nixon? From fast-talking pitchmen to wild and bizarre characters, Dan could do it all. He wasn't just funny, he was groundbreaking. His time on SNL from 1975 to 1979 cemented his status as one of comedy's sharpest minds. But it wasn't just the comedy sketches that made Aykroyd stand out. It was the way he connected with audiences. His humor wasn't mean-spirited. It was clever, witty, and often rooted in truth. Audiences loved him because he seemed authentic, and behind the laughter, there was always a sense of intelligence and heart. Then came another turning point, the Blues Brothers. What started as a sketch on SNL turned into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Aykroyd and Belushi, as Jake and Elwood Blues, weren't just funny characters. They were also musicians, and their performances combined comedy with incredible rhythm and blues. The Blues Brothers movie, released in 1980, became one of the most beloved comedies of all time. It showcased not only Aykroyd's comedic chops, but also his passion for music. He wasn't pretending, he truly loved rhythm and blues, and his respect for the genre shone through. But just when people thought they had seen the best of Aykroyd, he gave the world something even bigger. The year was 1984, and Dan Aykroyd co-wrote and starred in Ghostbusters, a film that would become a cultural landmark. Inspired by his fascination with the paranormal, Aykroyd helped create a story about four eccentric scientists who saved New York City from a ghostly invasion. It was funny, thrilling, and completely original. Ghostbusters wasn't just a hit, it became a phenomenon. Kids and adults alike quoted the lines, wore the costumes, and bought the toys. To this day, the Ghostbusters theme song and logo remain iconic. Aykroyd's role as Dr. Raymond Stantz was more than just another character. It was a reflection of his lifelong interest in the unknown, his creativity, and his ability to mix humor with storytelling. The film's success proved that Aykroyd wasn't just a comedian, he was a visionary. Ghostbusters made him a household name and one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. But fame didn't stop Aykroyd from exploring different sides of himself. He went on to star in a wide variety of films throughout the 1980s and 1990s, from Trading Places to Spies Like Us, from Dragnet to Coneheads. Each role showed a different side of him, from serious to silly, from dramatic to absurd. And in 1989, he reprised his role in Ghostbusters 2, once again proving that audiences couldn't get enough of the ghost-hunting scientists. Yet, Aykroyd wasn't only about the spotlight. He also had a deep sense of loyalty and friendship. His bond with John Belushi was legendary, and when Belushi tragically passed away in 1982, Aykroyd was devastated. But even in his grief, he honored his friend's legacy through their work together and by continuing the Blues Brothers tradition. Beyond acting, Aykroyd also explored business ventures. He co-founded the House of Blues, a chain of music venues dedicated to celebrating blues music. He also launched Crystal Head Vodka, a unique brand that reflected his creativity and individuality. These ventures showed that Aykroyd's imagination went far beyond film sets. He was always creating, always innovating, and always finding new ways to connect with people. His career continued to evolve, with roles in critically acclaimed films like Driving Miss Daisy in 1989, where he earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. This was proof that Aykroyd wasn't just a comedian, he was a talented actor capable of delivering heartfelt and emotional performances. And through it all, Dan Aykroyd remained humble. He never forgot his Canadian roots, his love for his family, and his passion for storytelling. Even as Hollywood changed around him, he stayed true to himself, blending comedy, music, and creativity in ways that felt authentic and timeless. Today, Aykroyd is remembered as one of the greats. Not only for the laughs he gave us, but also for the heart, the imagination, and the legacy he created. From Saturday Night Live to Ghostbusters, from the Blues Brothers to Driving Miss Daisy, Dan Aykroyd has left an indelible mark on Hollywood and beyond. His story reminds us that humor, when combined with intelligence and authenticity, can change the world. And so, when we look back at Dan Aykroyd's journey from a boy in Ottawa who loved the paranormal to one of Hollywood's brightest stars, we see more than just an actor. We see a creator, a dreamer, and a man who gave us joy, laughter, and stories that will last forever. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Dan Aykroyd. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about the legends of Hollywood, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nation of Glory. Until next time, keep believing in the power of stories that inspire, entertain, and connect us all.